Alright, so what is a circuit? So we have a circuit is an electrical network of electrical components in a closed loop. So what that means is electrical components, you have batteries, you've got resistors, you have capacitors, inductors, you have chips, diodes, you have LEDs, which is a type of diode, you've got light bulbs, you have all sorts of things. These are electrical components, and so it's a network of these components. So a battery is modeled as a source, so this is called a voltage source or a current source, and the way we draw that is by drawing something like this. In some cases you can draw it like this, some people draw this like this, and in other cases like this. So these are sources, and these two are DC sources, and this is an AC source. An AC source is a signal that will oscillate, so a signal that will keep oscillating like this over time. This is an AC source. A DC source is a source that is constant, like that. For example, this could be 10 volts. Okay? So over time, it's constantly 10 volts. For an AC source, over time it's constantly changing, it's oscillating like this. And so these are the different symbols for that. So if I draw this a little bit better, you have this kind of squiggly line, which represents this squiggly line, this oscillating sinusoid. And these are batteries. Now on a battery you have the plus and the minus, right? So this long line indicates the positive, and the short line indicates a negative. So this is, for example, it's 10 volts. And in some cases you have a symbol that looks like this, and this is just a combination of DC and AC source. So you have things like this, right? And for resistor, the model for a resistor is this. You have this kind of line for resistor, plus R. So you can have, for example, a 100 ohm resistor, or you can have a 1 kilo ohm resistor. All sorts of values for, you have a whole library of resistors, and that's the symbol for resistors. So a network, a circuit, is a network of all of these different components. In the later videos I'll introduce what a capacitor is, inductor is, and all of these other components. Okay. So a circuit looks like is a network of this. So if we combine, for example, a way that a flashlight or a light bulb works is, a light bulb is essentially a resistor. So you have this light bulb, and this is connected to a battery or a source, like this. And then from the battery, this could be a 10 volt battery, you have current that is going around like this, going through the resistor and comes back around, and this is called current, which is indicated by I. So this is current, and as the current goes through this resistor, which is a light bulb, so I'll draw this as a light bulb like this. Okay? It's a light bulb, and as the current goes through, the light bulb will heat up, the filament will heat up, so this is the filament, and when the filament heats up, it lets off the light that you see, and that's due to the current that flows through, as the current goes from the positive end all the way to the negative end. So this is a circuit. It's an electrical network. It's a closed loop because you have this, the line goes all the way across and ends back here. So this is a closed loop. And for a closed loop, the current has a path to travel through. But if you don't have a closed loop, let's say you have an open loop. Let's draw this a little bit differently. You can draw this with the source over here, and you have a resistor here, and it's open. And it's open like this. There's no connection here. This is an open. Then there's no place, there's no path for the current to flow. The current is going in this direction. It's flowing through here, and then there's a break. So there's no current. No current. So this is not a circuit where, in this circuit, the light bulb won't light up, basically, because the current is not flowing through. We don't have this current. So this is equal to 0 amperes. So this is the basic idea of what a circuit is. You need to have a closed loop of electrical components. In here we can have resistors, capacitors, inductors, LEDs, chips, switches, all sorts of things inside the network. But this is the basic idea of a circuit. So, okay, and in the next video I'll explain what capacitors are and how resistors are made, and what inductors are. Okay, so in this video we will look at what a circuit is. We'll define a circuit. Here we see a Samsung Galaxy S3, and you see the antenna feed over here. So the antenna is connected to the cover, and the signal from the antenna comes through this contact point and goes through this path, goes through these chips and this chips, and goes down this path. Under this board there are several boards. This is a multi-layer board, and so although we don't see connections across here, under this board is another layer of circuitry, so the signals can go down a board and across. So the signal will go down, across, and come up to these chips because it's a multi-layer board. Well, we see these chips, we see inductors, capacitors, capacitor over here, chips, an LED, a lot of electrical components. So let's first define what a circuit is, because in a smartphone you have high frequency circuits, you have analog circuits, which are low frequency circuits, you have digital circuits, and you have digital IC chips, integrated circuit chips. So within these, underneath this shield, you have chips as well. Another example of a chip is, for example, over here. These are also chips. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Okay, so these are the connections. Okay, and this is to indicate which side is, this is pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is to indicate which side is 1 and 8, and which side is 4 and 5 over here. So you can see this chip is a lot bigger than the one you see, ones you see on the smartphone. On the smartphone, it is important to miniaturize or reduce the size of everything because of the limited real estate of the board. But just to indicate what a chip is, this is an integrated circuit chip, because inside this chip are multiple transistors, 15 to 20 transistors. You have capacitors, resistors, a whole network of a whole circuit within this one chip. And so what happens is certain pins are where you connect your battery or your source, and certain pins are where you connect the input, and you have an output, ground, and you have several connections of this within, for this chip. So let's take a look at what a circuit is first of all. Okay, so